Well, thanks everybody for joining us. I want to introduce our panel to all of our guests out here. We have Ray Dillon. He's the former CEO of Deltic Timber Corporation, a publicly traded company. He's also on the board of directors of America's Car Mart, another publicly traded firm, past chairman of the Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce, and just recently rolled off as chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank's Little Rock branch, correct?
That's correct.
You're going to have to do more to achieve more in life there, Ray. I'm a little worried about you there. Mike Preston,
I'll work on it, Roby.
Executive Director of the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, which oversees economic recruiting and jobs and expansion across the state of Arkansas, across every industry in Arkansas. Marcy, Doderer, the CEO of Arkansas Children's, a statewide healthcare organization that is devoted to the delivery of healthcare, research, and foundational support for the children of this state. Thank you all for being here.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. Ray, I'm coming to you first as we talk about the economy for 2018. In 2017, low unemployment, high employment, low interest rates, consumer spending up, business and consumer confidence in a positive direction, the stock market reaching a couple of new highs. Why is the economy clicking on all cylinders?
The accommodative monetary policy from the Federal Reserve, Roby, is finally, those dollars are finally hitting Main Street. We're beginning to see investment. You see people, employment picking up. Unemployment, is almost at record levels today. And so those dollars are finding their way back into the economy. Corporate profits are, quite frankly, very healthy. And so things are clicking, not only here, but worldwide. Accommodative monetary policy worldwide. We're set up for a worldwide expansion. And we could see a bull market for many years is my prediction.
All right. What do you think you'll be watching for in 2018? Is there any specific indicator or indicators that you think are really ones to keep your eye on?
Hopefully we'll see more private investment. Construction investment was almost at record levels. Private construction investment this year was almost at record levels. Hopefully we'll continue to see that trend continue. Automobile sales, we hope we see them turn around again next year. They were off a little this year. Mm-hmm. And then one of the statistics that I watch closely is housing starts. Continue to see housing starts improve to get back to the levels that they were prior to the financial recession.
All right, Marcy, let's talk about healthcare here. This good economy that Ray has been talking about has been good for you guys from a fundraising perspective, certainly with what you got going on up in Northwest Arkansas. You also have seen a lot happen in the job sector in the healthcare industry there. Will 2018 be good for healthcare, and what should we consider good in healthcare?
Well, I think 2018 will definitely be good for Arkansas Children's and for the children in the state across our network of services because we're growing. We will open Arkansas Children's Northwest in coming weeks. We'll actually celebrate the clinics opening next week on Tuesday, January 9th, and then the inpatient side to follow not far from that. We're expanding our reach into southern Arkansas with dental services, and a big announcement about that coming soon. And we're expanding the impact we can have as Arkansas Children's on the care of neonates with strong partnerships with Jefferson Regional down in Pine Bluff, and also with CHI St. Vincent in Hot Springs. So helping newborn care really get elevated across the state. I think the biggest challenge we have is really continuing to watch what the federal government will do that impacts revenue in particular. CHIP remains not reauthorized. We have great support from our Arkansas delegation, but the Congress itself has not acted, and so that remains hanging in the balance, and that's about 50,000 kids in Arkansas who aren't sure where their health care insurance will come from come April.
So you've got CHIP, you've also got Medicaid expansion, and we're watching the waiver at the federal level and how that might impact Arkansas. You've also got uncertainty about the Affordable Care Act still hanging in the balance there. When you see those policy discussions going on at the federal level, are you telling our congressional delegation, you guys are killing us? Or are you telling our congressional delegation, the solutions within our grasp, here's what we need to do?
But it's really, we help with that mixed message. So actually, I'll be in D.C. next week and hope to see all of the Arkansas delegation so we can deliver a message and advocacy for public health policy for children, to push for reauthorization of CHIP. But the conversations on those bigger policy issues, whether it's Medicaid reform at the federal, state level, or overall Affordable Care Act, the message we try to deliver is the providers have to be part of that solution. So the way we've done business for 100 years as Arkansas Children's can't remain that way going forward. That we also, the onus on us is to improve our quality, to reduce our costs, to really be a highly efficient business in the delivery of healthcare services. So we try to bring solutions to the table and want to be part of those solutions. Certainly want to help design our own destiny. Don't want it done for us.
I'm going to let you design your own destiny. I'm not interjecting in that. All right, Mike, you and I spoke late last year in 2017 about potential corporate tax cuts at the federal level. They came.
They came.
They're here. They're coming. Tell me what that has done. Has it opened up the pipeline like you thought it would, or are we still in everybody's evaluating the potential impact right now?
I think people are still evaluating, but we are seeing the projects start to flow. This has been a very fast start already to 2018. A lot of projects coming in. Even as we closed out 17, and once the tax bill was passed and the corporate income tax rates are lowered, you saw companies starting to reinvest in employees. You saw large companies giving incentive pay to them, making the commitment to reinvest into infrastructure and other things. So you're starting to see that at a very high level. That's going to start trickling down a little bit more and more. But the pipeline will be opened very soon, and we're going to continue to have a lot of competitive projects. That's not necessarily means they're all going to come to Arkansas, but we're going to compete on all of them.
Yeah, and Ray, you may weigh in on this. Mike, I want to follow up with you on that. There's a couple of key sectors that AEDC is making some concentrated pushes in. Timber is one of those areas. Manufacturing is another area. You've got a lot of things happening in the financial sector. I think startups, and I'm hoping healthcare will be a part of that as well. Where do you think we're going to see the biggest impact in 2018?
In terms of industry, you hit them on the head. I think timber is a big win for Arkansas. Obviously, with 19 million acres of timberland in Arkansas, we have an abundance of the resource. So we're going to see kind of a reinvestment in there. You're going to see more investment coming out of Canada, other countries that maybe were sitting on the sidelines before getting back into the game. Manufacturing is going to continue to be strong, and Arkansas is such a strong manufacturing state as it is. I think 13% of our workforce is engaged in manufacturing. That's 6th highest among all U.S. states. So when companies start to look, they want to look at a place that has a background in manufacturing. They want those skill set and those workers. We've proven that here in Arkansas, and that's something we'll continue to push for.
Timber and manufacturing, it's music to your ears, isn't
Music
it,
to
Ray?
my ears, it certainly is, and Arkansas is the right spot for people that are interested in those industries to be. I mean, we've got a great timber resource here. We don't have enough markets for the timber that's growing, so it's attractive for anyone, both on the wood product side and pulp and paper. And manufacturing, we've got a great workforce here. Workforce development's doing a good job at preparing the workers that we have that's coming down the pipe today for the jobs for tomorrow.
Yeah.
So.
And so,
Honestly, Roby, if I could jump in there too, and those are two great legacy industries here in Arkansas we want to continue to support, but we've got a lot of great opportunities coming in healthcare.
Yeah.
I think healthcare is a huge industry that we're going to work on, and you look at our startup communities, the entrepreneurship that's happening, our accelerator program that we now have implemented in our state, you're going to see some healthcare companies that are spinning out of that, a lot of startups that are happening. So I really think, to agree with Ray, that 2018 is continued to be a bull market. There are going to be a lot of people who are entering the market. We're going to help support that as best we can.
Marcy, where do you see the biggest deficiencies that the state needs to work on in terms of improving healthcare, maybe from a workforce perspective? We know baby boomers are retiring. We've got some big shortages coming. You guys have not had as much trouble recruiting for some of your healthcare positions, partly because you guys have such a specialty niche, but you see what's happening in the larger healthcare market.
Yeah, and when you look at the news across the state, almost every healthcare system in our state's expanding, and that is putting really kind of a noose around the neck of the workforce for healthcare workers. So as we've added over 200 jobs in Northwest Arkansas, many of those people have come from out of state. It's an advantage for Arkansas that we can bring people in, but it's an expensive recruiting model. And so I think within the state of Arkansas, we need to understand, how do you get into your middle schools and high schools and encourage those kids to pursue healthcare professions, not just your traditional clinical ones of nursing or physical therapy or heading on to med school, but the technology support that we need in healthcare now is considerably different than when I entered the industry a long time ago.
About 5 or 10 years ago.
We did use email then,
right.
but our need for analytics support, understanding how we move into predictive analytics, the technology of maintaining equipment, it's all considerably different. And I would love to be able to recruit from within the state instead of having to do our external recruitment efforts. But we're growing and we need that pipeline of people. We'll get them where we can. We have a great story to tell, and that makes our recruitment easier. But even with physicians, we've had to recruit 30 new physicians for Northwest Arkansas. Almost all of them have come from out of state.
Wow. And you guys are both champions of workforce, so I know that her message and what she's saying is hitting home for both of y'all.
Sure, and I would just sum it up: math, science, and computer science.
Yep.
I mean, those are the focuses. Those are jobs of the future, and those students that focus on those areas will be the best paid employees in the future.
Yeah.
And we have, we've got a lot of open jobs in our state right now, and what we need is the workforce to be able to support that. We need to go in and make sure that we have curriculum in the schools, K through 12, vocational, higher education in our 2-year schools that can support what industry needs, because it's not going to slow down. We're going to have more and more jobs coming, and we're going to have to continue to recruit people to the state. That's not a bad thing. We want to continue to grow the state's population, but we know we have a population here in Arkansas that are underemployed. We want to train them and get them into a better job, maybe in the healthcare field, so that they can raise wages, and all boats are going to rise.
Hey, and we hit the 3 million mark
We
this
did.
year in population too. I was watching that so closely until we finally got there. Yeah.
I was going to say there's just that direct connection to back to child health. One of the things we struggle with in Arkansas are kind of always landing at the bottom of the heap in child health metrics. But if we can work together on improving how healthy our children are, we actually feed that workforce over the next decade and further. Healthy children learn better.
Yeah.
It takes a healthy child. So if we can keep the young kids healthy, prepare them well when they hit kindergarten and on, which is really kind of at a core of what we're trying to do as a child health system, then we actually can produce the kids coming out of high school and into college to fill our workforce needs into the future.
I'm going to end this conversation how I started it. Ray, Marcy, then Mike. What's on your wish list in 2018 if you could wave your magic wand and make 1 or 2 things happen that would maybe open things up for the economy, state or national? What would you want to see happen? What do you hope happens in 2018?
I would hope we would continue to see appropriate relaxation of regulatory reform in Washington that continues to stimulate capital investment, faster approval of projects, those type of things. At the local level, I think hopefully incoming Chairman Powell at the Federal Reserve will bring about relaxed regulation of our community banks, and that will stimulate our community banks and have them more active, hopefully, which will create investment in our rural communities and be better supported by our community banks. And then naturally, we continue to have a need for construction workers throughout the country, but also in Arkansas. All the projects that we're talking about need workers, and construction workers being one of those. So I would hope we would see something along immigration policy that would be favorable as far as providing the labor resources that are needed to be able to accomplish the things we've talked about today.
All right, Marcy, what's on your wish list for 2018?
I think top of my wish list is that as both the federal and the state conversation around health policy for kids, or health policy in general, takes place, that we can keep children as part of that conversation, that the politics of healthcare doesn't get lost in speaking only to the aged or to the disabled, but that we can carve the kids out, talk about coverage, access, benefits for kids, separate and apart from financing of the overall healthcare system. That's my wish.
All
Put
right.
children first, invest in them.
Mike Preston.
So beside a Razorback Florida national championship game, I think it would be great if we see an infrastructure bill passed at the federal level. And Ray alluded to some of the jobs that we'll need in the construction, but industry, if such a bill is passed. But what does that mean to our steel industry in Arkansas and all the industries that support what an infrastructure bill would mean to our state? So I'd love to see something passed there and what that it translates to into our state. And then ultimately, I want to see to make sure that we as a state continue to grow, that our GDP continues to grow. We want to make sure that our wages are continuing to rise and that we're more competitive.
All right. Marcy, Mike, Ray, thank you all very much for your insights and for your thoughts. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
Thank you.